Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to No Tube. And it's time to talk about Willow, baby. And I'm here with cousin Cheeto, episode 7, mate. The Shattered Sea. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Very excited to talk about this episode. Whether it's good or bad is up in the air.
Yeah, I, I didn't think this episode was too bad. By the way, I don't know how you felt about it.
I actually love this episode. I thought this was the best episode out of all of them, including I like the first one, but including the first episode, I thought that there was a lot of good fantasy-driven adventure in this one. The plot moved. This should have been episode 3, in my opinion. Like they should have been doing
Wow.
this they should have been doing this in episode 3. Like 1 and 2 should have been them getting to the Shattered Sea, and then episode. I mean, I guess maybe one shenanigan along the way. So at latest episode 4, but like yeah, they should have been doing this a while ago. Would have made the pace of the show seem a lot better. I feel like we should have been crossing the Shattered Sea episode 4 or 5. Well, episode 4 crossing and then reaching the city Emorium or whatever it's called in episode 5. So I feel like that there was so much fluff in this season so far that like it was really that this is what I've been waiting for. This really good, and I love the fact that there's like a time skip here where it's like Laura Dannon's doing her magic training, she's getting better, and Kit is finally getting. And honestly, Kit didn't have a lot of lines in this episode. A lot, like she had some lines, but I don't feel like she had a lot. And I thought that she was much more tolerable in this episode. So yeah,
Yeah. I actually thought this was a much better episode. Don't get me wrong. The show is still quite a lot of fluff, and it should be far better. And one episode doesn't save an entire season.
it does not. You are
But
correct.
without a doubt, this was a far superior episode, and I'm happy to say that I think we got the most character development of all in this episode because they were kind of isolated for most of this episode. All together in one little place. Um, yeah, it was pretty good. So we kind of jumped between like two areas: the area where Eric is with that young lady Lily, and also the gang basically.
The gang.
And yeah,
What do we call it? We can't call it a fellowship. What do we call it? It's just the gang.
the Willow ship.
The Willow ship. Yeah. Yes. Why do we wait till like the almost end of the series to realize this? You could have called it the Willow ship the whole time.
Yeah, the Willow ship of the I don't know of the Honora, of the Allura or something like that. Okay,
The Willow ship of the sea because they're heading to the Shattered Sea.
yeah, and I did like the look of the Shattered Sea. Like it felt like an ocean. It felt like it had ice on it, but then again, it didn't. It was almost
Well,
like the water was very dense.
yeah, I was about to say like the one thing could swim underneath it, but then they could also walk on it. It was like
Yeah,
don't get me wrong, I didn't hate it because I'm like this is fantasy. Like physics kind of go out the window. You know what I mean? Like with stuff like that. So I'm okay with that. If them saying, "Hey, this thing can go under the water, but we actually can stand on top of it." It's fantasy. Who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
so. I
yeah.
get.
Yeah, had that Pirates of the Caribbean vibe about it.
Oh God,
You
don't
know,
ruin it for me, please. I mean, you're right. It did, but
yeah.
I mean,
So
first Pirates of the Caribbean was okay. It was pretty good. After that, it was just kind of downhill.
I keep reminding myself I need to rewatch the Black Pearl again because that film is excellent.
Hmm.
I
It
think
should have been a
when
one
you
and done, but you know how Disney is. They milk anything. For example, what we're talking about, they milk anything.
yeah, and I haven't even seen the fifth one yet. By the way, the one with what's his face Javier Bardem. I haven't seen that one anyway.
I think I saw the fourth one and I was like, I'm done. Like I mean, after the third one, I was completely done.
Was that
Fourth
the
one, I
fourth one?
think I watched
Is that
with
is that
friends.
is that Javier Bardem the fourth one? I thought that was,
The third one's at World's End. That's the one where they face off against Davy Jones and all that. And
and the fourth one's Blackbeard.
yes, I have seen that one, but I didn't
Okay, so
like
yeah,
rush to watch it. Anyway, keep going. Sorry,
okay.
Tangent Station.
So we cut between the two factions of Eric and Lily and the Willow ship, and
The Willow ship.
And so Eric and Hottie, I call it Hottie. They get to know each other, and they drink from that golden water to keep themselves alive. And that's when Eric sees his sister in the water, and so he tries to reach in there and save her. But at the same time, Alora's getting her groove. And only noticed this the second time I'm watching this, because when I was watching it the first time, I was thinking to myself, hold on, Alora's hair has become ginger.
It has
Yeah.
gotten much redder. I did notice that.
Well, it happened the moment she did the spell properly enough to get Kit out of the water. And if you watch it, if you rewatch it, you watch that moment, the moment she gets Kit out of the water at the beginning of the episode, um, her hair goes from blonde to redhead. And she looks like a totally different person. You
Almost.
know what I mean?
As I said, I did notice. Especially when she was it out of the water. Yeah, was it out of the water at the end, or was it?
The moment she like cast the spell correctly to propel Kit out of the water,
Yeah.
the power of that spell changed her hair from blonde to redhead.
I just noticed.
And
I think I noticed when her hair was really wet, though, when they were training. I think is when I noticed, because that's when I really noticed. But something was off, and she did look like a completely different person when they were in the hut.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Watching this episode twice, I needed to make sure I knew when the actual transition happened. So I have. So last week we had our special guest in Christian Slater, and today, not many people might know this, but we have a special guest actor today in the legendary British actor who's been in countless movies. You know, he's a bit like Christopher Plummer in that sense and all of that. 87 years of age, still going strong, been in everything. Star Wars, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. He was in he's been in Game of Thrones. He's been in so many things. He's been a James Bond villain.
Wow, that's
Julian
quite the
Glover.
repertoire.
Julian Glover was the old man in the inn. That's the name of the actor, Julian Glover. Um, he's been in so many things. He played one of the Imperial bad guys in Empire Strikes Back. He just, I thought to myself, I know this guy. I know. I was thinking, I know this guy, and I'm thinking to myself, where have I seen this actor before? Because he was covered up in quite a lot of makeup. It was very hard to tell who he was, but you could just tell, like his whole, like the performance he gave as well. He gave like a British West Country accent as well, which was really good.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm trying to remember who he is. I don't remember, but I mean,
have you seen the movie? You seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? Yeah.
Yes.
Remember the actor Donovan, the one who drinks, who chose poorly, who drinks from the wrong cup.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's Donovan, and he's also been in, like I said, he's been in lots of things. He was in For Your Eyes Only. He was the Bond villain in that.
I've only seen a handful of Bond movies. I'm not particular to James Bond. Sorry.
Yeah, but he's most famous for playing Donovan, I think, in Last Crusade, and then he withers into a biscuit. He chose poorly, so to speak, you know. So, yeah. So they arrive at his inn, and he's like a weary old man. You know, he like doesn't know what reality is and stuff like that. And then he happens to have a sleigh, which I knew would come into play. And then he offers the people some food, and that food seems to be worm soup, cream of worm soup. And
Yummy.
nobody's really eating it, but Borman. I knew
Borman's that desperate.
But he has no problem with it, you know. Like, he's a man of the earth, and then he obviously starts telling the old man. I never really caught his name, but he starts talking about his past, his history a little bit. He was a paladin a little bit back in the day. We also see, you know, jumping between Eric and the gang. We see Eric trying to stop Lily from being tempted by the voice, the same voice that was tempting him, and Lily thinks it's a way out, but Eric's trying to tell her it's not. And then at the next day, we're back at the inn, and this old man is like is back saying, you know, he's gonna make some eggs and stuff like that. He's basically stalling them, and then Graydon sees two old men and realizes one of them is an imposter and knocks him out with a fucking one of those things you see in like in docks and fisheries and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know what the hell that thing is. Some
I
sort
don't
of pulley.
remember. I didn't. I just know he knocked him out. I thought he used a frying pan. Like from when I was watching on my phone at this point. So it's like I only caught the fact that he knocked him out. You know, so could have been
Well,
a
we get
frying
our
pan for all I know.
we get our set piece of the episode because they escape on the sleigh, don't they?
Yep.
And so they're on the sleigh now, and the bad guys, which initially kidnapped Eric, are now coming after them. We get some little action piece moments, and then we get Graydon pulling out his magic flute. This is not being seen, or no. Yeah, until this episode, the penultimate episode. Okay, magic flute time, baby. Yeah, I mean,
I know it was very random. I'm like, what just
what?
happened? Like, and it's even a different color. I'm like, is this the Mace Windu of this universe? Like, it was like a
Yeah, I think
purple.
it's purple. I'm
I'm
talking
like,
about.
I don't know. I feel like and then later on he says that it was just it just felt natural. I'm like, what the like what?
Well,
What?
we kind of look just to jump way ahead a little bit before I come back to this. He kind of was like, he confesses his love to Elora, doesn't he? And he kind of like feels like Elora inspired him to, because he has had a decent arc. I'll say out of a lot of the characters, like he's become braver.
Yeah.
He was a coward when we saw him in the beginning, and now he's got some balls, and he and all of that. So there's something to that, I guess.
I'm really I mean the past 2 episodes I'm really liking Flash Thompson's no, not 2 episodes. I think last one he didn't have much to do because he was kind of nerfed in that episode. I think the
No,
one
yeah,
before I
they benched him.
episode 5 and episode 7 have done a lot for his character, and I really like it. So I'm really actually rooting. I'm rooting for him and Elora Danon to get together. You know, like I don't care who's promised to who does who, whatever bullshit. I'm like, dude, right there, Flash Thompson needs to get some of that Elora
Well,
Danon.
talking about Allura, when as they're fighting these bad guys, like the mouth of Sauron, he ends up getting on the fucking
I thought the
thing,
exact same. I thought it was his
and
mouth of
then
Sauron as well.
as soon as he touches Allura, he becomes a ring wraith. You know what I mean? He changes appearance and stuff like that. Like what the fuck? You know what I mean? The mouth of Sauron and ring wraith in one. But they dispose of him, and yeah, they basically get away from the bad guys, and now they're on the Shattered Sea, and they're on the Shattered Sea for a fucking long time.
I think
I
they
mean,
said weeks at one. They said weeks, maybe months. I think they were exaggerating maybe when they said months, but I mean, they also said, "Did you notice the days are getting longer?" So I mean, maybe they
yeah,
were there. It just didn't seem like a lot. But I do like the connection that they're starting to make. Is that because in this episode also Eric says that Eric, right? That how you
yeah,
say it? Like
Eric with an A.
Eric, yeah. It's like so it's Eric. Um,
Mhm.
but he says the sun never goes down here, like he has no idea. So I do love the fact that they're alluding that they are getting closer. They just don't know, like, they just don't know it yet, but we know it, but they don't.
Exactly. So that's a good point actually. So that is one of the ways they are getting closer. But at certain points on their trip, they do take breaks. Just happens to be little islands conveniently in the Shattered Sea for them just to chill out on. Laura and Willow, they do some sort of magic wand training, which was it was nicely choreographed, I think.
Well, and we got a nice like training montage between Kit and Alora and Willow and Jade. Like I that's one of my favorite parts of this episode. I thought it was really good. That's what I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And even Graydon gets in on the act and starts shooting his flute around a little bit, and
I love when hopefully I'm not jumping forward, but I do really love the moment when they first start training and like Willow and Elora are going back and forth and Borman's just sitting there like with what looks like popcorn and he's like sitting there just going like watching. I'm like,
I think he was drinking out of a flask, wasn't he?
oh well, yeah, no, he was drinking.
Yeah,
That's right. He was sitting there just drinking, but just the way he
yeah.
was sitting, it's just like it's like that Michael Jackson meme where he's like sitting there like eating the popcorn and watching. I'm like, yeah, I'm right. This is very interesting. I really felt this should have been earlier in the season because this was such a well done like sequence, in my opinion. like for all characters, for all of them put together, in my opinion.
Well, hello, Jim. By the way, Jiminy Jim,
And
and that Daniel Vance.
Jim
Happy New Year to you too. By
Jim
the
and
way,
Daniel Vance. Howdy, howdy.
so well, also Kit and Jade, they finally start making out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, finally, you know. I mean,
Finally. So yeah, so I mean that's been on the cards forever. Yeah, I think personally, like it would have been it would have been a lot better if they were just already a couple instead of them alluding if they really loved each other and stuff because it was so fucking obvious.
I was about
You
to
know
say,
what I
I
mean?
always thought that they kind of were. I just the only reason why they weren't open about it was because technically, technically, Kit was promised to Flash Thompson, so that's kind
Oh
of why I
yeah,
think they weren't talking about it.
yeah. Good
But I
point.
don't
Good
think they
point.
ever really hid the fact, and I even think Flash, and I know his name's not Flash, but I think they even Flash Thompson even said he's like, look, there's other stuff going on with her over there. He's like, I'm not stupid. I know. I think it was like episode 5. It's when we got more of that character development with him. So
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, I still think you're right about that regarding her being betrothed to Flash Thompson, but it would have still been cool if they were already a couple, but she still had a royal duty of having to marry somebody else, if you know what I
yeah, but
mean.
that sounds just very British royal family.
Yeah, well. Anyway, so um sorry, I'm just getting through my thing here. So the gang's been traveling for days with no end in sight. Eric and Lil make out finally. And by the way, Lily, she is also in Game of Thrones. I knew I recognized her. But they finally make out. But then Eric pulls away by saying that he loves Dove, not knowing that Dove is Laura.
I know.
Um,
I totally forgot that he didn't know when he said the name. What was it, like Roberta? I don't remember the name. It was some weird name. But when he said that, I'm like, who is that? I'm like, oh yeah.
yeah, she's gorgeous, man. She's gorgeous, and she put on the accent and everything when she did that. Yeah, the way she when she was like what she did to Bran, that was amazing. Yeah, she was part of the Dornish. Anyway, that's Game of Thrones for you. So
I'm so glad I know everything you're talking about. I know everything you're talking about.
so we very briefly hear from Willow when he tells Kit about the worm, some mystical creature that lives underground. I'm sure we'll probably see that in the final episode.
I hope not. I kind of hope it's like the Balrog. I was thinking about that worm. Like I kind of hope it's like the Balrog. Like you don't like you hear about it, and I mean I guess you see it in Fellowship of the Ring, but it's like it's kind of like one of those ancient evils that like you just don't see, but it's insinuated, and like it, and I know I'm doing Lord of the Rings comparisons, but I don't know. I feel like I feel like that's something that doesn't need to be explored this season. I don't go too big on this. Like I want them to go big on this, but don't go too big. Don't go world ending big. Go like life threatening big, and then maybe in future seasons you can go world ending big. Like don't jump to world ending right in the beginning. Then you have
Well,
nowhere to
that's if
go.
it gets another season. Um,
Well, I kind of hope it does because, as I said, is it perfect? No, but I feel like it's like Star Trek. Like first seasons are always rough, especially for stuff like this. And maybe don't even make it about Willow anymore. You know what I mean? Like make it Willow. Like it's called Willow, but like it's not all about Willow. I kind of wouldn't mind there being a little bit more expansion on it. We could call it Willow Ship of the Rings. I mean,
no, you can't be
Willow Ship
calling
of
it
the
that.
Sea.
That's just too much on the nose. But for
I
sure,
know, right? I was kidding.
I mean, the thing is, in today's society, where where everyone thinks that men are not enough on our television screens, if Willow then, for argument's sake, passed on the baton to his daughter, the amount of neckbeards that would lose their shit over that would be insane. And I think his daughter's a better actor than fucking Warwick Davis is anyway, and that's his
I
real
mean,
life daughter, by the way, as well.
I mean,
Funny
I
enough,
agree with you. I think Warwick Davis, as I said, he's okay.
he's okay. He's got better as the show's gone along.
This episode he
Yeah,
did pretty good. I wasn't too
yeah.
fussed, but there were a couple rough first episodes. I'm like, wow, he's really warming up his chops in this. Like maybe they should
Yeah,
have done like a Willow preseason just to kind of get him warmed up and then actually record the season, you know?
yeah. Because he's done a lot of stuff. Like there was a horror series called The Leprechaun.
Well,
Like
that was years ago. You know, Jennifer
yeah.
Aniston was in those, or in one of
Oh,
them.
okay, okay. I'm willing just to have a look at all of that then. So the creature pulling the sleigh has bonded with Graydon. It's some sort of giant tadpole. Um, Willow's getting visions of his daughter in peril. They lose track of time and have no idea how long they've been on the Shattered Sea. Borman then puts the Lux, which is the sort of key for the armor, and
Which
believing that he's work.
how much of a letdown was that? Like, not that I wanted it to go off, but like he's like, no, this is not the moment. No, this is not the moment. No, this is not the moment. And then like he just tries it randomly on the back of the barge, and I'm like, and it doesn't work. I'm like, okay, so you thought all those other moments when your life was in danger, you thought that it was not the right moment, but you're just sitting there on the barge on your ass, and you're like, let's give it a shot.
Well, look, my only defense to that is that he was so fucking bored of them just constantly traveling and seeing nothing but the same shit. And got, like I said, they've probably been traveling for days, maybe weeks. And before, oh, I've got nothing else to do. Let's just see if this works.
Well, and practically, yes, I agree with you. Practically, that makes sense. Like in reality, but not in a TV show. Like, you know, like okay, I'll give it to you that it does make sense if you were doing this in real life, like you were traveling the sea on a sled and you were that bored, like, okay, I could see that being the case. But like in the show, it's like it kind of just was so, and I know this is just build up for when he does get it, it'll all of a sudden there will be the moment and he will prove his worth and then he will lift Mjolnir. Insert the key into the armor and he will lift Mjolnir. You know, like that was one of the things I was kind of like meh about.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the armor didn't even look that fucking great either. I mean, I was hoping maybe once he put the key in and maybe all of a sudden, like, it all gets all shiny and stuff.
And it kind of like, yeah, fastens to him, like tightens up and everything. That would be cool.
Montage scene music was horrible. Fair enough.
I
Laura dressed
disagree.
as
I
Ray
actually thought the
while
music
getting
was really good.
Yeah, I was thinking a bit of Ray and Luke Skywalker there, but in a way, like they kind of like didn't go down that same route. Like they made sure that Willow was still far superior, and in a way, they kind of also put Graydon in on the scene. He became a bit of a Finn, so to speak. You know, but with potential of being a sorcerer himself. Okay, so with the creature gone, they have to walk. Willow gets more visions of his daughter. This time she's turned into a scary monster. Willow's desperate to get back home because he feels like he's abandoned his family. Um, and we also cut back to Lily and Eric, and she's giving Eric the water. I mean, Eric ran away eventually, but then he comes back, and he's so dehydrated. He's probably so malnourished. God knows how long yet. I mean, we haven't seen him eat anything. Just drink water.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
Well, and the human body can only survive 3 weeks without food. And I get it. It's fantasy. So it's not the human body. It could be but so it's fantasy. So I understand. But I'm just saying, like,
well, time is different. I don't necessarily think he's been there for 3 weeks. I just think that when you've been in the Shattered Sea with longer days for as long as they have, like maybe 5 days feels like 2 weeks.
it may. Yeah.
So
I mean, you're not wrong. As I said, that's what I was thinking about because they kept on saying, did you notice the days get longer? And I'm like, so maybe they just feel like they've been out there for a lot longer than they actually were. Because I don't think they've been out there for actual months, maybe weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks. You're right. But I feel like now, finally, because remember, there was some big time skips for Eric too over in the Immemorial City.
yeah,
So I really feel like that now they are finally now they're fine. Well, and obviously by which you'll get to the end of the episode, I think we're caught up now to where but I think a lot of the last 2 episodes with Eric has just been catch up. Like from when he first got, like right around the first time he first got there to because it was the end of episode 5 when he woke up in the Immemorial City, or was that episode
I can't remember, but we haven't really spent much time with him.
Yeah.
I think this was the outside of the pilot episode where where everybody was still together before he got kidnapped. This episode is the one where we really got to spend some proper time with him. So, hello there, Mr. System. Happy New Year to you, mate. So, the gang, they reached the edge of the world. You know what I mean?
At
This
World's
is like
End.
at World's End, you know. Flat earthers must be losing their shit over this. So they reach the edge of the world and they're all discouraged. You know, like they were supposed to arrive, as Elora was saying, they were supposed to arrive at where where Eric was being held captive, but they're not there and they reached the edge. You know, Willow's discouraged, Woman wants to go back, everybody wants to go back. But Kit, she's different. She believes in Elora. And then, you know, they do a leap of faith. You know, they hug each other, Kit and Elora. They hug each other and then they jump off the edge. Legs. Yeah, I've got some legs here, baby. Here they are. There we go. Yeah, so
Easy Spread. What? Hi, Easy Spread.
hello, Easy Spread. So yeah. Yeah, I mentioned that, by the way, Daniel Vance. I mentioned at the beginning he played Donovan in Last Crusade. He was General Veers in Empire Strikes Back. He was also in Game of Thrones. He played the Maester in Game of Thrones. He played the Bond villain in For Your Eyes Only. He's been in so much. Yeah, easy and teasy. Yeah, I know. I got plenty of meat. I got lots of meat here, mate. Lots of meat.
Easy
So
teasy
anyway,
covers Am.
yeah, exactly. I gotta be careful, you know. This is a family show, for fuck's sake. So anyway, so they both jump off the edge, you know, and they fall into the water. They come out the water, and then they are at where Eric is being held captive. And then as they walk around and stuff, and they see what's going on, Eric pops out. He's got a haircut. His demeanor's changed as well.
He's wearing all dark, so it's almost like he's evil.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that's how the episode ends. Now I do believe everybody else is going to jump. You know, they're going to jump as well. They're not going to just let those girls hang. They're going to follow them, you know, towards that part of the world as well. But so far, all we have is Kit and Elora.
I was really surprised that Flash Thompson did not pop up there like right after them, because I mean Elora and Kit jump. I could see Jade and Flash Thompson jumping right. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It just seemed like it was a bit weird that they didn't jump right after him. And I mean, it seems like they made it all the way to the city, so I'm sure they jumped after him, but I didn't think they would have jumped that long after them. Borman, if he doesn't jump, I could figure it out.
Borman would jump, man. I think they all would. If anything, at one point, if this was at the beginning of the season, yeah, the only person I would think probably wouldn't jump would be Graydon. You know what I mean? But now Graydon's, you know, is growing a pair. I can't see any of them not jumping. You know what I mean?
You have way too much faith in Borman. I do not. Like I don't think he's a traitor anymore, because I mean the whole Christian Slater character kind of debacled that whole thing. But like I really don't know. I really just don't believe that Borman I don't know. He's so hard to read.
Sorry, I got caught up in the chat a little bit. Just quickly, sorry, this is the one I wanted to click. Yeah, Bad Batch season 2. My God, I totally forgot about it. Have they given the whole season out?
No, it's only like one episode at a time, I think, or maybe 2 episodes, and maybe the first 2 episodes. I'd have to double check. I did notice that earlier. I meant to message you, and I forgot to tell you. I said, "Hey, I know you're doing a lot of shit, but Bad Batch came back."
Yeah, so we are all set.
Thankfully, a lot like Willow's ending soon, and so is Tulsa King, I think.
Tulsa King is coming. He's got 2 more weeks left. But now we have the
Next
return
week.
of what do you call it?
Bad Batch.
Quantum Leap.
Oh, Bad Bat. Yeah, or Quantum Leap.
Yeah. So fill the tube from the armor with the fluid from the pool, and it'll protect the wearer from the evil.
Okay. Are you like magically MacGyvering something? Like, I know what he means about filling up the armor or whatever, but I'm like, is that like what is up with that water? Like, there's got like it can't just be water. Like, what is up with that water? Because he kept on drinking, and I thought he'd like start to turn evil or something, but he didn't. He had to, I guess, accept it, kind of like the brother blood thing from Titans. It's like he kind of had to accept it. He couldn't just like they couldn't make him become, be brother blood. I don't know.
It's it's a special water that will keep you alive.
It's got a lot of copper in it.
Yeah, it's like basically the Huel of the Willow universe. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's interesting to see who the bad guy is. Is it Lily? Is she like the main baddie now? Like this woman who kind of lured Eric into drinking. I think she was there as well because she tried to speed things up because she knew that um that Willow was catching up with them. So, and it'll be interesting to see how they get out of there as well. It's going to be very interesting. And are we going to get a Val Kilmer cameo? That'll be interesting.
I mean, if they can make it work, I'd be happy for Val Kilmer to get some work. You know what I mean? But like, with the guy's health the way it is,
Val Kilmer isn't. He doesn't need the work.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if he wants the work and he gets it, honestly, as I said, I wouldn't mind them recasting only because of circumstances. But at the same time,
you can't recast.
Well, I know you don't want to do that, but it's like sometimes circumstances call for it.
I think they put themselves like sometimes you put yourself in a position where you genuinely can't do it. Like you've got nearly every other aspect of the show where Willow's the main character. You got Joanne Whalley back, playing her role again. Val Kilmer will make it the trifecta.
They could do something cheesy and like have him wearing a mask or something. I don't know, and maybe do the. I don't know. As I said, it's either
they might deep fake him.
Oh, I hope not. I don't know.
Maybe they'll have Jack Kilmer play him and then deep fake him over Jack Kilmer's face.
Yeah, but then they got to get rid of him. You know what I mean? Like with deep fakes like that, like you can't. That's not sustainable. You cannot keep them on a show like that.
I agree. I do agree.
So it's kind of like with Luke at the end of Mandalorian season 2. It's kind of like, Tarkin in Rogue One. It's like, you can't. It can't be a sustainable thing. So it's not like we're going to get Mad Mardigan back. They're going to have to do something where either he sacrifices himself to stop the crone, or not the crone, but whatever the main baddie evil is. Or they're gonna have to, make him stay behind to hold back the evil. Like, I really don't want that. I really don't want them to do that, only because it's like we see it coming. You know what I mean?
He's 63 years old, Val Kilmer, and
that's what I'm saying. I don't want Val Kilmer back. I don't think he's well enough to do any kind of long acting. I would almost rather them find out he's dead. Like just maybe his essence. Maybe is in the forest with the fairy, that and what was that spirit in one of the forests or whatever. Maybe there's something like that where he is, where it's like they can kind of do a deep fake, but it's not like his actual face. It's not an actual actor. It's like something CG'd. You know what I mean?
Well, Daniel Vaughn says that Mad Mardigan will save Kit to complete her arc. I just like, however they do it. Personally, they should have had him dead from the beginning of this show. Honestly, that would have been the better move. Like, he had already died. That would have been a better play. Obviously, you'd have to rewrite certain scenes, like with the Christian Slater scene and stuff like that. But yeah, that would have been the better way, because I just feel like when Luke Skywalker came back at the end of Mandalorian, like nobody genuinely thought Luke Skywalker would come back, because Mark Hamill's is in his 70s now, you know. But they done the deep fake, they pulled it off. I just feel that this is the only way they can do it. You know what I mean? A temporary deep fake. You know, he then says goodbye to his daughter, rides off into the fucking sunset, rides off into the shattered sea, never to be seen again. And that ends his arc, that ends Kit's arc. You know what I mean?
I would just rather them leave it ambiguous as to what happened to him. I really do. Like, I don't. This is something that I don't think I want to know, only because I know it's not possible to do with Val Kilmer. And as I said, I don't blame Val Kilmer. I don't blame Disney. I blame circumstance, and it's no one's fault. Who's funeral friend 45? Did you?
The Democrats have no shame.
Don't get him started. Don't get him started.
Yeah, and by the way, you know what country you're talking about. Remember, look, listen to me, listen to my voice, and listen to his voice, that one.
Yeah, he's all backwards. He doesn't know which way he's going.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
drives on the wrong side of the road.
We've got two different countries here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, funeral friend 45, welcome. Even though you're obviously Republican, and I am a political agnostic.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm so fucking far left. I should be left-handed, but I'm right-handed. You know what I mean? So yeah.
He's so far left-handed, he uses his lefty to jerk off.
I do, funny enough, but yeah. Anyways, so I think it's about time we mark this episode. So,
I better get the poll ready. But yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, so I'll go first whilst you're doing your little shenanigans. I thought this was a lot better episode. Having Julian Glover, the legendary Julian Glover, was a nice touch. It's always good to see him back on our screens in any capacity. 87 years old and still making TV and films. You know, and he's a stage actor as well. That guy needs a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Yeah, I mean, he really does. You know, the amount of stuff he's been in, he's a cult status actor. Same with Christopher Plummer, in my opinion. I'm not sure if he's been in Star Trek. I'll be shocked if he hasn't in any capacity. You know, so yeah, but I'm gonna give this episode an 8. I did enjoy it, so let me go on the old thingy and put on 8. How about yourself?
I was actually going to give it a 9. I really enjoyed the majority of this episode. As I said, the Borman thing with the armor was kind of stupid. That kind of knocked it down. I wouldn't say it's a perfect episode, but I really enjoyed the fantasy aspect of this episode. It was good. It was, in my opinion, for what it was well paced. Especially maybe I'm just used to all the shit that Willow's been giving us the past couple of weeks, and maybe that's why this is such more impactful. But honestly, I was going between an 8 and a 9, and I really feel like I want to give it a 9. So maybe I'm being too generous. That's okay. But I enjoyed, unlike Daniel Vance, I enjoyed the training montage, like with the music. I thought the music was actually pretty good. It was a little off kilter, but it fit the scenes, in my opinion. It fits Willow, because Willow feels like it's off kilter. Like the whole fantasy world feels like it's off kilter. It's just a little off from everything we know. And that's fine. Like, as I said, everything's copied from something else nowadays. And
like I said before, I'm always going to have an issue with American accents in fantasy and medieval fantasy. It just seems just a bit weird. And when they start using sort of American phrases on top of that, it makes me cringe even more. It just doesn't work, in my opinion. I think I'm a bit more used to it now because I've obviously seen several episodes, so it's not bothering me as much. But I just find the new age American accent doesn't work in medieval settings or fantasy settings. That's just
it
my
doesn't.
personal opinion.
It doesn't bother me, but I'm one of those, I'm one of those American cunts. So
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. You know, we were just talking, by the way. I don't. I know we don't want to get too political, but we were just talking before we went online. What we were saying is that the libertarian ideology and the Christian religious ideology are very conflicting, because it does say in the Bible to give away all your worthy possessions, to help the needy, help refugees, help the poor, help the sick, all of these sort of things, and of course, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, give away everything, give it all away,
Uh,
because no rich man's going to get into heaven. But if you're a libertarian and you believe about keeping everything and helping yourself and fuck everyone else, but selfishness is a virtue, then that kind of conflicts a little bit, doesn't it, with being a fucking Christian? So, in my opinion, libertarians, which is mainly an American ideology, it just seems to be a bit silly, because so many Christians tend to be libertarians. Yes, sorry.
this is Political Hour with Zam.
Well, we were talking about it, saying how silly it is. So,
All right,
exactly.
so
So,
we marked it. What did everybody? I didn't even see what people marked it yet. I got to get over there. Wow. Okay. Well, we got a 10. Couple. Wow, we got a couple 8 and 9s, and then we got a bunch of out of 6 votes. We got a bunch of 1 through 5s. Wow. Wait. Okay. In the chat, why didn't you guys like this episode? I want to know. They're really like there is 110 in there, so that's great. And I'm not saying we have to be right. I'm just, and it's your opinion. That's fine. But I'm genuinely curious about why you did 1 through 5 this episode. That's kind of crazy. I've never seen such a stark difference between like what the chat said. We're all right along the same level, because we all believe in the communist belief. No, I'm kidding. But everything's equal, right? Everything's equal. Everybody gets equal shit. No, but yeah, normally we're right along the same level with the chat. This time it's starkly different. So come on, chat.
yeah.
Let's hear why did you not like this episode? I bet you money
Uh,
it's Booney. He accidentally hit, instead of hitting a 10, he accidentally hit a
no,
1.
Booney's the most generous of all.
I know. It was a 5
Of
for me,
all.
exactly what I've come to expect from the series. Aw, Daniel, you're killing me, man. I thought this was a
Daniel
great step up from what they've been giving
Daniel
us.
Vance can be very harsh when he wants to be.
Yes, he can.
I mean, he can be very harsh and very unforgiving. So I'm not surprised that but like Daniel Vance knows. I mean, this show is not necessarily the best, and he hasn't, like, maybe like with us, got used to it. Um, yeah. So yeah. Oh no. Helping people is great, but they have to help themselves after a certain point. Yeah. Well, uh, we have to have an economy as well as a political ideology that is set up, because unfortunately it always seems to be the most powerful and richest people that tend to get the help the most. Elon Musk, he's got so many government subsidies, for his SpaceX and everything else. The guy's a billionaire. He doesn't need
They're contracts, homie. I'm not even getting into that with you.
and not
I
just just
support.
him,
Look,
but
I will admit, I support SpaceX. However, over the past year, I've kind of looked at Elon Musk in a different light, and I'm kind of like, yeah, this guy might be just a hair crazy. But over with SpaceX, there is a ton of people doing a ton of good work, and honestly,
I agree.
reusable.
I agree with you on obviously wanting a better future for ourselves, and it seemed like a very plausible idea. But I'm just talking about not just Elon Musk himself, but generally, like, rich people in general. Like during like the height of COVID, like the amount of subsidies going towards, and bailouts going towards big businesses, when they're owned by multi-billionaires who just need to put their own hand in their pocket to bail their own shit out, but they don't want to do that because they're so fucking greedy. But we have to all pull
And
ourselves
I
by
agree with you on that fact. I really
we
do.
we all have to pull ourselves by our bootstraps, because somehow, we have to somehow survive on like $7 an hour or whatever it may be, which is absolutely
No,
ridiculous.
over here, it's gone
Yeah.
up exponentially over here. So
Uh,
I think
yeah.
minimum wage is like up to like $15 an hour now.
Exactly. I mean, even then, it should what it is. It should be a lot higher. But we are very much um kind of like brainwashed into believing that's not that shouldn't be the case. That we should only get what we deserve when other people are getting paid 50, 100 times more than the regular Joe. Like billionaires don't need that much money. They'll never need that much money. They need to pay their stuff. Like no billionaire, sorry for going on, I just have to mention this. No rich person, no industry could ever be that rich without the very employees making them rich in the first place. They all made you rich. Everyone, the guy who cleans the fucking street, the guy who works on the fucking on the till, the guy who stacks the fucking shelves, they're all part and parcel on how you became a fucking billionaire. So fucking pay them their goddamn money. All right, I apologize. No more. No more. Um Daniel Vance, I have to look for no further than Mississippi here in the U.S. to see how much the rich rip off from programs meant for the most needy. Shame on Brady.
Hey,
Yeah,
I was gonna say maybe on Friday we found our pot. Maybe we get Zam to get political on Friday. Since we don't have anything on Friday, we get Zam political on Friday. Just a political podcast by Zam. It'll be
I'm very one note. Like all our problems in today's world are caused by the most richest and greediest people who just don't want to give a cent to anybody else and want to keep it all for themselves. And one day, when all these rich motherfuckers have got every bit of paper, every penny in their pocket, they'll realize they can't eat the money that they've been so desperate to take off us, but they've got it all. So yeah. Anyways, all right. So look, let's wrap this up. We're going to be back on tomorrow. And by the way, Daniel Vance, I owe a pair of testicles. I'm willing to give them up. I'm not sure if I don't want to go on about this too much, but I have to remove my testicles and but I put them on the line. So yes, but tomorrow
your
we're going to
national
be talking.
treasure.
Yes.
I I
Um,
I I might have watched from last week's episode. I think I watched the review.
I anyway, I don't want to go on too much about it.
That's
I
fine.
don't want to spoil anything for you, but yeah, National Treasure is on tomorrow. We usually do it on Fridays, but with Star Trek Prodigy now over, we're moving National Treasure to Thursday. So keep an eye out for that. And then I think we might be doing fan films on Fridays. Is that
Yep.
correct?
Yeah. Well, for now, yeah. I mean, um, until I think Trek is coming back in late February. I mean, Bad Batch is here. We've got Quantum Leap now and Tulsa King. So Zam's really busy. I was gonna try to start watching Quantum Leap before it came back, but I utterly failed. Um, um, Prodigy is looking at a feature film. What? Why? I mean, don't get me wrong. The last two episodes were pretty good, but I'm like, why are
Star
they
Trek
looking at a feature?
Prodigy. It's going to be Star Trek Prodigy: The Search for Chakotay. Yeah, I mean, and that's basically it. That's what season two is going to be. Or that's what they can make a movie out of that quite easily. But
Look, there's so many different shows that Star Trek could do that it's not. I mean, you could do a time patrol type show, from based on the time cops that were going around time in Star Trek
temporal
Voyager.
temporal investigations.
Yeah, temporal investigation. Well,
We saw them in DS9.
no, they were
Yeah,
in Voyager.
I saw
Oh
them
no,
in
no, 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 not
DS9.
temporal investigation. Temporal investigations in Star Trek is like they're in the current timeline. I'm talking about the ones that actually travel through time and then they go to different eras of Star Trek, like which would be nice. And I'm not really talking about the future, but going through different eras of Star Trek, like they could go to the Enterprise era, they could go to the original series era. They could make it an anthology show. Starfleet Academy. I've always been preaching that one. Freaking Starfleet Academy would be an amazing show. And you follow the same crew, and then it's kind of like Days of Our Lives type thing, where it's like when they start going off to different ships, you still follow those characters, but then you're on three different ships or something like that. Be a great show. I think Section 31 in the uh in the DS9, I'm sorry, post Nemesis, like Picard era, but have somebody mentioned this, and I don't know who did, but I love the idea of Julian Bashir running Section 31, but like also trying to take it down from the inside. Like he's trying to figure out who's pulling the
What?
strings. Yeah, because
You
Julian
see,
Bashir was really involved at the end of DS9 with Section 31. So then Julian, they go to Julian, they ask because he's an augment, so he's really, he's really good. So it's like they get him to be like the head of Section 31, but then obviously it's a shadow organization. So Julian's trying to find who's running Section 31 because but not like from like the Federation Council. Give us a Federation president show where it's like the West Wing, but with the Feder fucking ration. I don't care. Call it Birth of the Federation and have it like the moment that Archer walks off the stage in the Federation, and you get your first Federation president, and you start to grow the Federation from there. Like, could you imagine? Like, these are great shows. I know I'm tangenting. Oh my god, what am I doing? All right,
I have no problem with that, but something like those sort of shows are really good because they are adult orientated, and in a way you have to make it adult orientated. But how do you do a show what would be good if they could try to somehow make this like show like the end of money and the world becoming financially
do the time travel episode. Somebody's going back to try to because keep in mind,
to bring back capitalism. Oh my goodness! So
yeah, like they're trying, like somebody goes back in time in this temporal war or whatever, and these temporal agents are going back to try to stop. Like one of the episodes could be stopping them from their thoughts of on bringing. Oh, I just lost my train of thought. Their thoughts on like ruining the Federation is not stopping capitalism. You know what I mean? Like that all like they go back and they try to prevent the fall of capitalism in on Earth. So it's like that's like that could be a great episode. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
these are all great things.
but I still remember like Zephyr Cocker saying, "You know why I built this warp thing? Dollar signs." You know what I mean? And like that's such a like significant thing because obviously once he did finally break the barrier and the Walkers came in, like that was pretty much the beginning of the end of the dependence of money, and like their lives changed forever after that. If everyone has replicators and stuff like that, my goodness, you know what I mean. So yeah, Bashir was mentioned in Janeway's recent log for having sued Starfleet for. How do you sue?
Well, I was like, what do you sue Starfleet for?
How do you sue them? What are you gonna get out of them? Extra fucking tricorders? I mean, what the fuck? What are you gonna get out of him, man? Like,
I mean, I'm sure he's suing to change the legislation, probably, but still, like, I really like that. That's another thing with I don't know. Prodigy's loose cannon. Yeah, would you care to hear a Willow review? Go to timestamp 0. Enjoy. I know we freaking rabbit trail. That's my fault.
No, it's good that we do divided opinions in the chat. Yes, sir. What's the reward in Star Trek apart from? No, that's the thing. They educate themselves. It's not about money, and that's the thing. I said, this one. I had this debate on the Avalon podcast. These guys Avalon, if you I'm not sure if you heard of them, they make fan films. They're really good, and myself and Cheetah were invited onto their channel. And I mentioned one of the things I liked about the Star Trek universe is the fact that they don't do stuff for money, which it makes them as purity can be. I mean, they're ambitious. They want to climb up the ladder, so to speak, but they're not doing it for money. And
they do it for themselves. They do it for the betterment of humanity. And I mean,
and like the world, the way things are set up, like there's no greed. Like everyone gets fed. And you could eat as many times as you want. It's nothing like. It's not like this sort of like 1984 sort of dystopia where people are thinking that you only get 3 meals a day. If you want to keep going back and forth from the replicator, you can do. You know what I mean?
And when you get overweight, the doctor will just give you a hypo spray to help burn it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they beam that shit right into space.
Exactly, but people's ideologies have changed in the future. Like, material wealth is it's so it's so primitive, and that's why, I love that's the main thing I love about Star Trek.
We could
That,
visit the eugenics war in a time travel show. I mean, come on. Like Studelberg
uh,
could do a eugenics episode.
oh God, yeah. So you could not bother working and not like, if you want to. Well, I think the the thing is, I think is, I don't know, like it's never really been seen like that. Like people people who work in that period don't necessarily work for Starfleet. Starfleet is you can go down that route, but there's people who own restaurants, and they make food for people, and they're not doing it because they want to fucking make a living. They do it because they love it.
Mhm.
You do things because you love doing it, not because you want to make money. But it's weird to say, like, if there were any lazy bums, yeah, there probably might be. But you get lazy
But I
bums in the
think
capital. You get lazy bums in the capitalistic society anyway, so it's no
I was
different.
about to say I feel like once the mindset of human beings change, like yeah, you would have your in your not your instant, but like you'd have your
Desires.
generational gap where it's like you've got
Yeah.
all these lazy cunts that are just sitting on their asses and doing it. But guess what? They die off, and then like if their kids see them doing that and they waste away their life, then the kids will be like, I really don't want to be like that. I want to do something with my life. So yeah, are you going to have like a generation where there's a bunch of lazy sloth assholes not doing anything? Absolutely, because they're going to think they can get away with it. But then their kids are going to see that, and their kids are going to see that, and they're like, no, I want to I want to do something with for myself and with myself and to better humanity, because it's not like I'm doing it for money. But like, would I sit at home if I didn't have to work? No, I would do things. I would not just do nerd tube podcasts all day. I would probably want to help people. If there was no money, like if there was no such thing as money, I wouldn't want to sit at home all day. Maybe the first week, but after that I would be like, okay, I need to go.
Well,
And on top of
but
that, you wouldn't have to worry about a 40-hour work week. You could work 20 hours. You could have three people working, or you could have three people working 40 hours, or six people working 20 hours a week. You'd have more time for yourself at home with your family. You'd be, I don't want to say you'd be able to make your own hours, but you'd be able to so it's like, it kind of almost works out.
we had COVID, where people were not forced, but they were advised, stay in your house, don't go out. This is what people were dreaming of. This is what the one thing a lot of libertarians were always complaining about from society, that if they had a chance to stay at home and do nothing, they would do that. But that wasn't the case, was it?
Mm.
Because the moment people were all fucking told to stay at home, everybody was dying to get the fuck out. You know what I mean? Nobody wanted to stay at home. We were all restless. So the human beings in general, they want to do shit.
And
We
as I
don't.
said, any
Yeah.
of that laziness would probably just be burned out. Like they would die off because they would become fat fucks. They'd get like bunch of cardio issues and whatever, and they would die off, and they would have wasted their life when they could have done something else other than sit around. And honestly, if there's no money, we can afford, like, not afford, but we can take care of our veterans better. We can take care of our disabled so much better. You could have, families. I could, if I had a disabled child, which God, thank God I don't. But for anyone who out there has a disabled child, you can stay home with that disabled child, and that is your job, to make the best life for that disabled child. You know what I mean? Like, your job is to take care of your kid. It's not to whatever. You wouldn't have to worry about fostering and adoption so much, because people would be able to have families and be with their families. Like, it would be so. And as I said, I know in the current state of the world, it doesn't make sense, but it would be so much better for the humans in general. Like, just to, and as I said, yeah, you would have your down, like where you have your lazy sloths in the beginning, but I feel like that would kind of wean away pretty quick. Oh, Zam, time to get your blood pressure meds.
Okay. I just want to quickly say, anyone seen Commander Spark? I mean, yesterday, Jim and I, we did the Quantum Leap review, and he had this shiny fucking thing on his head. Jim, honestly, be Jim. It's all good doing a gimmick like Santa Claus, which everybody knows that I'm Santa Claus. All right, fair enough. I mean,
no, don't ruin it for me.
I'm morphing to him and all that. But the point is, like, oh, maybe I am. You never know. I'm just trying to get a point across to Jim here. Like, a gimmick should be now and again. Just be yourself on stream, mate. That's the best thing you can do. Knowing that what you're doing will better the world in which you live in, knowing that working with other species to ensure your survival is a chaotic universe is reward in of itself. Yeah, for sure. Like, during COVID, because of capitalism, so many people were laid off. Now even though COVID is with us, we've learned to live with it, and people are just getting back to their lives again. And like, I was at the airport, just standing there with my name board. Yeah, standing there like that with my name board, waiting to pick up my customer. And some geezer came up to me and said to me, "Would you like to be a baggage handler?" He offered me a job. I'm thinking, mate, I have to work really hard just to become a cab driver. I have to go through courses to be a cab driver. There's no way I'm going to be fucking throwing bags on a bloody conveyor belt. You know what I mean? But they need that. I had a random guy ask me for a job as like, because this is the world we live in now. Like, if the top 1% are not making their profits immediately, they've got nothing to fall back on. And they don't want to give back. They want to keep it all for themselves. None of us got to do what you love, otherwise dollars only get to your point. Happiness is more valuable to dollar to me. Hey, Netherverse. I agree with Bobby in his volunteering. I wouldn't just veg. More hellos here. I come to the right video and at the right point. Good, valid discussion. Yes. But unfortunately, this discussion is going to be coming to an end, I think. As I said earlier, we're going to be back tomorrow talking about National Treasure. So I look forward to that. So yeah, it's gonna be good fun indeed. You saw last week's episode?
I saw last week's episode. Yes, I have to watch this week's episode still. I'm going to do that tonight.
I was dying, by the way. I mean, I'm a lot, as you can hear me, I'm a lot better now, and I'm going to probably go back to work on Saturday. So I feel like I'm on the recovery. I'm almost there. I definitely feel a lot better than I have been. Been drinking a lot of this. Cough relief. And I've been popping a few of these paracetamols. I'll do a few of that. Stop making the birds eat out of my mouth, because I know that's probably not a good thing to do whilst you're sick.
Yeah, you don't want your birds to get sick.
Yeah.
Especially if you have respiratory things, because birds have very sensitive respiratory systems.
And as you can see, I covered the cage.
I know. I haven't heard a peep. I was kind of wondering.
Oh man, I only had like a few minutes before we started, and I had 3 of the 4 in there. So what I do is I just switch off all the lights and everything, and I just like when it comes to Brutus and Juicy, they're easy to put back in a cage, but Gunner and Blue, they're a little bit difficult. So I can't just put my hand underneath their belly; they'll shit themselves and fly away. So I have to switch off all the lights and everything, make sure I know exactly where they were, and then grab them, put them in the cage, and that's it. All good. You know what I mean? Might lose a little bit of trust points doing that, unfortunately, but it's what you got to do. So, and Blue's been flying on my hand, like I'm like sitting in this position, and she'll fly on my hand on my shoulder on a couple of occasions. She's flown on my head a couple of occasions. Got a few occasions less, but it still is baby steps. So we'll see how it goes. All right, so I think we've done enough. Lovely talking to you guys. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. We'll see you tomorrow for some National Treasure. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.